Now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to the channel. As the title says and shows you, it has been 1 year since I've actually bought my Audi RS3, the 8P I always wanted. This isn't a for sale video, by the way. I will just point that out. There's people in the comments that are like, oh, he's had it a year and I bet he sells it now. No, actually, I'm not. I promise. Yeah. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is actually sort of talk to you guys exactly what's happened with this car over the past year of my ownership, what is going to happen next for the car, and various other little bits and bobs. What we're going to do first is really talk about day one. When we picked this car up, we grabbed it from Havant Car Company for the channel, and what actually happened was I was sat in Havant Car Company's office and we were chatting about cars. You know, my X6 was for sale and I was umming and ahhing about what to get. Now, I'd never actually properly financed a car in my entire life, so I wanted to go down that route mainly because, you know, creating a credit score for yourself, and you know, I want to be very frank with you guys, that's really what you need to do in life to get a house and all that. I don't own a house, so I sort of need to go through the motions, buy credit cards and all this sort of stuff. So financing a car for the channel, for myself to daily drive, enjoy, put a bit of power in, was the idea from the start. We wanted to get something a little bit more comfy, newer, exciting, all that sort of stuff. The X6 was a cool car, and you know, a lot of people out there didn't like it. I thought it was quite a good promotional strategy for FYD. That's really why I did that. I thought it was really cool, and branding something that weird was really sort of the goal with that car. But moving forward, buying the 8P, the one that I wanted for so long. Now, the story actually started when I was around 21, 22 in my Mark 5 Golf. One of these come past me in Hindhead Tunnel like an absolute rocket, and from that day until the day I picked it up, I'd always wanted a white 8P RS3. Now, this one actually coming to Havant Car Company, and we were sat in the office, as I said, and we were talking backwards and forwards, and George, shout out to George, absolute legend at Havant Car Company, he was like, Jamie, there is an RS3 8P coming in, why don't you have a look at that? And I was like, do you know what, mate, I bet I can't finance it, because when I see it, I'm gonna want it, obviously, because it is the ultimate car. It does everything, it's fast, blah blah blah. So it came in, and what he said was basically, let's go and drive it. So he drove it, I passengered, and we launched it off a slip road. And it's at that point I said, how much is the finance still on it? So that's how that sort of went down. So shout out to Havant Car Company. They knew exactly what I was after. They knew that I wanted this car, and they knew that we could sort out pricing and stuff for financing, because again, I'd never financed something before, so this was a bit of a minefield. It took a couple of days, but we got there. But yeah, buying the car at 440 brake horsepower with a full stage 2 package pretty much on the car meant that going forward I had enough power to sort of play with, because it was in theory the fastest car I'd ever owned in my entire life. I'd never driven an 8P with this sort of power. I'd never owned a car, I think, over about 300-ish brake horsepower, I think the Aristo was. So that's the sort of ballpark we were working with, and something this small, this powerful, this exciting in that way was a new realm for me. I'd driven cars and really enjoyed them, but this one was just ticking every box. Now, going forward, talking to the guys at AET, obviously after doing a few bits with the X6 with them, we started chatting. He was like, do you know what are these like with a hybrid turbo? So I started doing some research, and AET turbos, again, shout out AET Motorsport, they built the hybrid turbo system for this car, which you can go and get. There will be a link in the description, atmotorsport.com. and yeah, we pulled out 500, just over 520 brake horsepower in this thing. It is complete savagery. If you haven't seen the videos, please go back and watch them, because the night and day feeling from going from a 440 brake horsepower car to a 520 brake horsepower car, especially something this small with the pickup, 3000 RPM, this turbocharger kicks in. I will tell you now, the day I bought this thing, I never thought we'd be able to, in 1 year, hybrid turbo, exhaust, bigger intercooler, you know, injectors, fuel pump, all of that wouldn't have happened in my head. I was just so grateful to actually own this car. But working with the legends that is AET Motorsport, they came through, they did unbelievable work. And as you guys know, in this space of the year that I've owned this car, it means that now it's 520-ish brake horsepower, depending on how you look at it, drivetrain loss and all that. But yeah, it still shocks me every day to actually go and start this thing and think, bloody hell, this is the car that I lusted for that whole time, and now I own a 520 brake horsepower one. It is just insane. It is insane. Basically, coronavirus, right? So I'm going to break it down for you guys. We're a year in, and the idea was to keep this car for a year and a half. That was the big plan. I wanted to really go for it this whole year, with building it at the start of the year, doing the car shows, getting the wrap done, you know, vehicle wrapping centre. Need I say more? They absolutely smashed this out of the park. I've literally never seen a wrap this insane. Yeah, to have it on my own car is actually a joke. Like, I can't believe that is actually in front of me. Anyway, but yeah, getting that done at the start of the year was the key, and then going forward, doing all the car shows, enjoying it, doing track days, going on road trips, all that sort of stuff. That was the plan. Now, obviously, plans changed, and I decided to, you know, again, I save money here, there, and everywhere. I try to, at least, with buying and selling cars, with YouTube, and with, you know, various other aspects of life. I always try and have a bit of a buffer with what's going on. Obviously, coronavirus hit, and that meant that the buffer disappeared. Thankfully sold the truck, bought the Series 1. Shout out Series 1, top link in the description, FYD Apparel limited run. But yeah, that meant that I could achieve that goal instead of selling this, or having at least the money for this to be sold and then we go into something else, if that makes any sense. Now, again, being very blunt on this channel and being transparent, because I know you guys like me talking about transparency, but the reality is I'm always saving for something. It was the replacement for this. Coronavirus has meant that I'm going to knock it back at, you know, fair, you know, at least 6 months, maybe even more, because we need to enjoy this thing. We need to go and have a nice time with it. We need to go to the car shows. I need to go and do track days in it. I need to go on a massive road trip in this thing. Once everything is pretty much back to normal, that's what will be happening. And although everything has a sale date on the channel, that's just how it all works. I want to rest assured that this car isn't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump in it, because Jamie last year at this point jumped in this car and was just couldn't believe it. At that point, I never thought we'd be here with a 520 horsepower one. It is actual insanity, and I don't think I'm ever going to own something this fast again in my entire life. It is insane. It really is insane. But let's jump in the car. Let's go for a poodle. Let's go for a hoon. Let's go for just a good sit down chat with you guys. Again, leave the comments below. Tell me what you think of the RS3. I am like, still can't believe it's mine. I still can't believe it's 500 odd horsepower. I can't believe the wraps on there. I can't believe Riviera with the wheels came through and they wanted to help us out on the channel and put some wheels on the car. It is insanity. It's insanity at this point to own this car a year on and it look like that, it go like that. It's still comfortable. It is everything I could ever want this car to be. But enough blabbing. Let's get in the car. Right, just letting the car warm up a little bit. The funny thing is, daily driving this, it doesn't make you become numb to fast cars, because I still jump in other cars and think, bloody hell, that's fast. Do you know what it is? It's incredibly easy to go fast in this car. Like, hilariously easy. That's the thing. And still to this day, I'm going to put the aircon on because it is incredibly hot at the moment. Still to this day, it does shock me, this car. But a year down the line, what are my general thoughts on the RS3 8P after driving, owning, experiencing different power in this car? What could I tell you and what could I review in theory about this car, about my own car, to give you some sort of context on this video? Is it everything I wanted it to be? Because this was the goal, this car. This was the I bet I can never own one of them cars car, if that makes any sense. Now, the comfort of the 8P is very, very high. That's why I wanted one with the non-bucket seat option, comfort option I'm going to call it. It just is a better driving experience for me. I've driven cars with the buckets in. They look fantastic, but they drive and the comfort just isn't there for me because I'm an old man at the end of the day. That's just how it is. You can't not drive this thing in non-sport. It's just not fair. But yeah, the comfort option was what I was after. A lot of people were very confused when I bought it. It's like, why don't you buy one with bucket seats? I didn't want the bucket seats. That's the thing. I didn't want one with that option. I wanted the comfort because I owned an 8P diesel many moons ago. Terrible, high mileage thing, but the seats were fantastic, so I wanted to replicate that in this car because I'd already experienced it and I knew how nice it was to actually drive and be in on a daily basis, here and there, getting in and out. But what would I tell you if you were going to go and buy one of these tomorrow? I would say definitely go and get one with some good mods on it already, because mods are hilariously expensive on these 8Ps. That's just how it is. That's just one of those things, and that's the reality of cars like this. They are horrendously expensive to actually modify. So yes, I would say, just like I did my research, saw how much parts were, and I went for a stage 2 one for that specific fact that if I wanted to go from a completely stock one to stage 2, it would have been so expensive, and then take it to stage 3 would have been so expensive. That's why I started with a stage 2 one to start with. That was the plan. I would say these RS3s, as I've said before, are going up in price. I am so happy a year down the line that I took this plunge into financing it. I took the plunge into ticking off a dream dailyable car on my list, because I never thought that I would meet my hero, in a sense, with the 8P RS3. It was, to me at the time, put on a pedestal by myself, because I loved these cars so much. I loved the aggressive lines and the large front grille. I loved the 5-pot sound. I loved everything about it, and did all of it equate to the car that I wanted it to be? Yeah, it did. It, in fact, actually blew me completely out of the water. After driving this for the first sort of 6 months, and then obviously COVID and all that sort of stuff, I enjoyed that. Then, as we sit in traffic now, then after getting it back in AT Motorsport, have literally made the fastest car I've ever been able to enjoy in my entire life. Yes, there's faster cars out there and stuff, but this is, on a daily basis, back to back, one of the most insane cars I could ever dream of owning. And yeah, like, I had in my calendar, I'm going to be very frank, I had in my calendar that next week I was actually going to put this thing, not necessarily up for sale, but I'd put it into my head that I need to start moving it on. And I obviously put that in my calendar at the start of the year, maybe even when I bought this thing, giving it a year to a year and a half to actually enjoy. I'm sat at this point now, and because of COVID, I haven't been able to enjoy it, but that's a good thing, because then I'll get to keep it a little bit longer. And I know I go on about selling cars on the channel and people are like, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever, but I've got a list, guys. You should have a list as well of cars you want to own at some point in your life, and I'm just trying to tick them off and document the experience at the same time. I know a lot of people will never ever understand why someone would do that, but I love it, because then I get to experience different cars on a daily basis throughout my 20s, 30s, and then hopefully into my 40s. If I'm still doing this in my 40s in 10 years time, I will then experience different cars then, and the list grows every day. And although I'm going to keep this thing a little bit longer, I'm so happy to be. I really am. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Celebrating a year having this thing on the channel, albeit 6 months absent due to COVID, has been an experience I'm never going to forget. The car isn't for sale and won't be for the next foreseeable future, let's say, but I will give you guys fair warning when I decide I want to unload this onto another enthusiast. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment below, leave a like, and we'll see you all on the next one.